And you've just heard The Hall, which is the opening track on The Light Switch, the eagerly awaited new album from Joe Mango. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Joe now. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. And I said they're eagerly awaited, and that's a bit of an understatement. How long is this since your last album came out?
I guess, well, I've been saying 12 years, but I think it's actually 13 years. Yeah, possibly even,
Wow.
yeah, 2012 was
Yeah.
when the first singles came out. So it's a really long time, isn't it?
Yeah, a long time. So, I mean, how does it feel now that you've got the new one out?
It's been, it's taken me by surprise how overwhelming it's been, to be honest. I kind of promised myself that I wouldn't release another solo album unless I could hold it loosely, because it's been such a long time, and you could really build that up, couldn't you, over 14 years? So I just decided, to make a thing that I wanted to make and decide to just put it out. Uh, but it's just been really, I don't know, it's been such a long time since put so, I mean, I've been releasing lots of things and
Yeah,
making lots of things in the meantime. I haven't been doing nothing.
absolutely.
But when it's just entirely your own thing that you've made and dreamt up, um, I'd just forgotten what it was like to have people responding to it and bringing their own take to those tracks. And, just the combination of receiving all the messages from people who've been listening and telling me what it means to them for the first time in a long time. But then bumping up against, what the music industry is like and the machinations of all of that, which obviously I've done before, although it's a totally different landscape
I
now.
was going to say, actually, in 12
Yeah.
years, there have been a lot of changes.
Yes. I mean, so yeah, the social media, the social media stuff. Obviously, you know about it on a conscious, logical level, but until you're actually in the middle of navigating that yourself, you can't really imagine what it's like. So that's been quite a shock. So it's been a slightly overwhelming mix of emotions, to be honest. Most of them good. And yeah, I'm just mainly delighted and so excited and can't quite believe that the time has finally come that it's out in the world.
So the songs on the album, we'll go into that a bit deeper in a moment, but have they been with you for a while, or was this written over a short period of time for one album?
Well, so some of them have been with me for a long time. So Your Voice, which is the last track on the album, I recorded when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 9. So that was, and The Window Pane was written at that point as well. I had meant to make an album with Ardem. I went to his house and we were going to make a whole album at that point, so 10 years ago now. And I was going to have Etta, my eldest daughter, and then I was going to launch back into my music career with this new album. Um, but she was kind of pressing up against my lungs, and I couldn't sing as well as I would have wanted to, and I was very tired. So we only got 4 tracks finished. And I was hoping to. I used to write really, really slowly,
Mhm.
and I didn't have all the songs for an album, but I was hoping I would. The magic of Ardem would help me to write some in the studio. But that just didn't happen. And then, life happened, and I was for many years I was left with just those 4 tracks. So when I came back to concertedly wanting to write, um, the idea started forming of a concept album. I was aware in listening to those 4 tracks that there were loads of different objects in them and some parts of a house. Um, and I got the inspiration for this set of songs based around a concept of a house. And I had a second child, and my husband would give them a bath every night, and that would give me 20 minutes usually to 30 minutes to myself, the only time I really had to myself. And I started just saying, right, that 20 minutes, I'm just going to play my guitar for 20 minutes. And you can't write a whole song in 20 minutes. You can't even write much of anything in 20 minutes. All you can do is just play, really. And that attitude of just spending a little bit of time every day just playing around really led to this incredible period of productivity where I wrote loads and loads and loads. Usually I only scrape together enough songs for an album, but for this album, I had several albums worth, and I had to
Right,
cut it
wow.
down. By the time we came to finally record it. Um, yeah, so it's been a very long it's been a very long process. So part of it was written very slowly over a long period of time, and then the bulk of it was written very quickly, with one
That's
kind of focus.
That's really interesting because as you say, it is. I've written down the word concept as well.
Mm,
We've heard the hall, and we go through. There's the bed, the clock, the typewriter. There's objects, there's places,
mhm.
as well as your ear and your voice. Which again,
Yeah.
I was thinking, in all the years I've been doing podcasts, Joe, the only time I've ever welled up was when we did one previously, many years ago.
Oh,
And then on this, when I heard your voice, I was away again. Beautiful, beautiful song.
thank you.
But yeah, so the concept of it, you had these songs. When did you realize that you were going to write it as this album about objects and places within a house?
Well, I'd heard around about the time when Adam and I were recording, I'd heard a songwriter whose name is lost to the mists of time. I've really tried to research to find out who it was, and I haven't been able to. So if anyone has any ideas, let me know. But it was a song that I heard on All Songs Considered, NPR radio show, which I was an avid listener of. Um, and he had lost his mum, and he had a form of religious belief, which meant that he felt that he was meant to make a place for her to live in the afterlife
Mhm.
by doing certain things. And he decided that his album was going to be a house for her to live in the afterlife, which sounds like an incredible amount of pressure, really, on your album. But I kind of really love this idea that an album could become a house for someone to live in. Um, and I thought, oh, I was also thinking about so the underlying idea of the album, deeper than the concept of building a house for people to kind of join me in, to house grief or to house big emotions, was this idea of trying to the light switch is the idea of trying to switch off something you have a desire for that maybe you can't have, like a person you have a desire for, or a dream, or a job, whatever it is you have that yearning for but don't seem to be able to have, and that desire you just wish you could just not desire that thing
Yeah,
anymore, to
yeah.
switch it off. And to me, the album was about my relationship to music. And I've spoken to a lot of students that I've worked with down through the years about this thing that happens sometimes when you really yearn to be a musician, when you're a younger musician and you see someone on stage embodying that thing that you want to be. You get this real deep physical yearning, painful yearning to
Mhm.
be the person on that stage, or to be the person who made that song when you listen to the album that you think is really perfect. Or maybe when you read that book, if you want to be an author, you read that book and you just get this awful, physically painful feeling of wanting to be able to do that, but not yet being able to. Um, and so the album is kind of channeling all my thoughts about music, that how much I love it and how much I desire to do it, but also how sometimes the music industries get in the way and it doesn't really love me back, or you make that beautiful song and not many people listen to it, and also the music industries have done quite a lot of negative things to people, and I've had some bad experiences that have affected my enjoyment of music. Um, so the underlying idea is that it's an album of kind of complicated love songs, of all those kinds, unrequited love songs about some kind of abusive relationship, or complicated ones that come and go, um, or just all out love songs. And the house, it fits with the house because music is just such a part of my everyday life.
Yeah.
And I know, talking to people who've had a relationship where they've lived with someone and then they've split up, it's that process of unbuilding your house and dismantling the bits that you've woven together, um, how it somehow encapsulates a really important part of what it is to try and disentangle something so important to you from your life, if you can, and disentangle it. I mean, I came to the conclusion I couldn't disentangle it, and didn't want to. I was just going to live with all the complexities of what it is to be a musician and to release music into the world.
It's such an interesting idea because, in terms of the house, you're constructing something, you're building something, you're adding to something, but then you're suggesting that sometimes you might want to reverse that or even start again.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a kind of conceptual house where people could shelter in, where they're escaping from something else, or it's the house that we might try and dismantle if we decided to start again. It's just considering all those different objects and aspects of it, in that context. Yeah.
So I'm always interested how people, particularly when it's a kind of concept album, when it's telling stories, when it's telling a story, I think through all the tracks, how you track list. And it sounds to me as though Light Switch was always going to be the title track because that's the key track. Would that be fair?
Yeah, and I did think it was going to be the last track on the album as well. That last line, "What is there left but to forget?" And we had lots of chats about it. Your voice is just such a moving track, and it kind
Yeah.
of called to us for it to be the last track. And it kind of reframed the album in a way because your voice is one of the songs that's about my love for music, whereas the light switch is about my desire to forget some to forget the desire or to switch off the desire, you know? And so ending on your voice reframed it all. So you ask yourself, oh, has she gone back? Has she gone
Yeah.
back to not forgetting? And I think it's more positive that way because I don't, music is absent of all the context around it that can make it damaging or difficult. Music's just a beautiful, wonderful, 100% lovable thing. And so I wouldn't want the album to ever be read as my complaint about music.
Oh.
It's my soulmate. So, but it's more about, yeah, so I didn't want to end on the difficulties. Wanted to end on the beauties more. Yeah.
I think that's, it does actually, now that we're talking about it, if you'd finished on the light switch, it would have almost completed the concept, but you'd
Mm.
been left, okay, what happens next?
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
actually what you've got is what happens next, and it's a kind of uplift.
yeah.
As you say, a very
What happens
meaningful.
next is what you're doing, which is listening,
Yeah. Well, yeah,
listening to some
absolutely.
beautiful music. Yeah.
And for you, what happens next is playing as well. I mean, when this goes out, you will have played many gigs. Um, what how are you planning on doing your live gigs this time around? Because I've seen you on solo, and this time you've got a lot of other people on the album. We may talk about some of them.
Mm.
Are they all
Hmm.
going to be on stage? Is that the plan?
No, I knew when I was making the album, when I was putting drums and strings on it, I knew I was going to rue every time I played it, I was going to rue how expensive it is to have a string quartet come round with you, and that I was just going to miss those sounds. And I do, I would love to be able to tour with, full set of strings and drums and all that. We had that for the album launch. But mostly I've made a trio of two beautiful musicians. I'm so excited about it and the sounds that we're making. And actually, when I'm playing with them, the fullness of what they can do means I'm not actually missing the strings and the drums and all of that when we're playing live. So I've got Kim Moore, who plays amazing affected synths and guitar and viola.
Mhm.
And I've got Maya McAdam, who plays the harp, affected harp, violin, sings. They both sing. So the range of sounds and atmospherics we can make is really cool, and I've been really excited about playing with this new band.
It's something I think a lot of bands have to take under consideration is the practicalities and expense of touring. And I know I've spoken to a few of the years that that's almost in their thoughts when they write the songs. Will
Mm.
these be able to be done me solo or me and someone else? And also, if we get the chance, the full band too. And
Yeah.
it's something you have to take into account.
It is, and I think because I'm such a song-focused person, it's
Yes.
less of an issue for me because I always know that underlying everything I do, there's a song that I've crafted really well, and
Yeah.
it should stand up, just me and a piano or just me and a guitar, doesn't rely on those sounds to carry its form, I suppose.
Sure.
And so other than making sure that underlying songs are crafted really carefully, I try and just give myself leeway for the album to be its own thing and the live stuff to be its own thing. And I actually really love the process of trying to figure out how to create the sounds on an album live without the same instrumental forces. It kind of just tickles my peculiar form of creativity and, my instrument collection, which is getting too big now. But just, yeah, how could we make that sound, akin to strings, but with this little omnichord or, I do actually really love that part of the process.
And I hope we've conveyed that this is a very personal album, with the themes and ideas that you're going through.
Mhm.
Um, and I guess it's that, not frightening's the wrong word, but are you apprehensive at putting things which are so personal out there? Because as you said, people are now starting to listen to it, starting to respond to it. How is that part of the process?
Yeah, I mean, that's just part of the privilege of music, isn't it? To have people respond to something and to say, I had that experience. I had someone write to me and say that their dad had passed away and they felt like that this album could help them house their grief. I mean, that's unbelievable, to be able to do that. And I think if you don't put yourself into it, it's not going
Yeah.
to reach people in that same way. So it's a double-edged sword, because you get all the joy and all the wonder of being that person or creating that thing for someone. But then you do also get people writing to you saying, "Oh, I've had that same experience as well," and that can also be hard.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of why, in a way, I've put layers and layers of images. I don't write kind of confessionally,
No, no, no.
although there's a lot of me in it.
Hmm.
I've moved away from being confessional in my songs, so that there is a slight layer of protection, but it is always a vulnerability, which um, I try to stay vulnerable and soft because I think once you harden your heart, then bad
Hmm.
things happen. Um, so yeah, I try and deal with that as best I can. And it is, it does contain my feelings about some pretty horrible things that have happened to me over the years.
Yeah.
But I know I don't have to delve into that specifically. But I still would like to be able to talk about that more generally. And I suppose that's why the album is about music and not about me.
Yeah.
Um, the focus is on that external thing. And there are a lot of people who've written very powerful and amazing things about difficult experiences that they've had at the hand of different industries, including the music industries. Um, and it takes a lot of bravery. But I think sometimes the negative aspect of that is that then the focus goes on them as
Hmm.
a victim of something, and how brave they are, and how amazing that is, and how amazing they are. But actually, the focus should really be on the problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
and on changing that rather than the focus being on them. And so I specifically wanted the focus of the album to be external to me in a way that would help with both those things, I suppose.
Yeah. And I guess that's where, again, going back to this idea of a concept, that's where it comes. You're not giving direct confessional, but people could read into these songs what they'll bring themselves to them as well. That's where
Yeah.
the strong connections are made, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I always aim to make songs um that leave lots of room for people to bring themselves or to ask questions. And I love it if people ask questions like, "Oh, where did that come from?" or "Why did you write that?" I love that. But I'm just really happy to make space, to make images that last with people and feelings that last with people, and to make space for them to interpret them however is helpful to them. Yeah.
Do you think you've changed as a songwriter over the years?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I really feel like many years of teaching and collaborating with lots of different people in lots of different contexts, I've just gathered so many more skills, and a greater, just a sense of security in where my skills lie and what I'm good at. And then a greater understanding of really like the craft of songwriting and how they work, and how you put them together. Um, and yeah, it's changed a lot. I remember my first album was really all written in the same kind of way, and I felt out of control of what it would sound like. It was like such a mash of different genres, because like this song came out and it just came out like a folk song, and then this song came out and it just came out like a rock song. So they just ended up, I didn't feel like I could shape them any other way, so they just
Right.
were what they were. Um, and then the last album was more written like poems that I then set to
Mm.
music, and that was a different way of writing than I'd done before. Um, and this album is my knowledge of what writing in all those different ways does, and my power to then choose. That's what I want this one to sound like, and I want to write this one this way because I know that will have this effect. And so I suppose it's a lot more considered, and crafted, than previous albums.
I think what you said earlier on about, grabbing 20 minutes while your kids are being bathed and all that, and that almost kind of necessity. I've spoken particularly to writers who, when they wrote their first novel, perhaps they were single and, time was not a burden. Then
Mhm,
latterly, they're writing it a bit like you're saying, and when they can, they get up early before the kids are away or just after.
mhm.
And that can shape the art itself, what the kind of thing is itself, I think.
It really does, yeah. I used to always find if I had a very short time frame, I used to write much more pop sounding songs. The more kind of accessible songs came out in that way, which was interesting. Um, and this time, I suppose I've spent a long time crafting them, but in chunks. And the initial ideas would come out very fast, without too much thinking about them. And I've really enjoyed that, being able to edit and curate, rather than just go with the flow. It is a really different process. It has different results. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you had kind of written lots of songs, potentially more than one album's worth.
Hmm.
That mean you may have another one soon, perhaps
Well,
sooner than 12 years?
no, I definitely the plan is definitely not to leave it so long. And yeah, there are other songs in the works, for another couple of releases actually. Yeah, so we'll see how fast I can we'll see how fast I can get them out, but it certainly will not be anywhere near. I mean, well, how old will I be? I'll be in my 50s if I wait another 14 years. So, not that that's laughable. Plenty of people release brilliant music in their 50s, but
To,
yeah,
to,
no, I
to
need
look that
to.
far ahead is a scary thing, I think, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, it will not be that long till the next one. I'm on a roll now.
Joe, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you and talk to you. I think the album's just gorgeous. It really is.
Thank
So all
you.
the very best with it.
Thank you so much. It's been really great to speak to you as ever.
And this is Joe Mango and the Light Switch.